Yes, sir. All righty. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have everybody here. Here we are for a special, awesome anniversary version of the Coffee Talks, which is a podcast that myself and Rachel Arnold do on Friday mornings, which a lot of you probably already know about and why you're here. So we've got welcome to PIMA Community College, first of all. Here we are in our home.
I'm so excited to be here. You have no idea.
Awesome to have Rachel here. Oh, this is great.
I know.
So good.
We're gonna cry.
So here we are in our Cybersecurity Operations Center here at the PIMA Community College IT Center of Excellence, where we're kind of taking a slightly different twist at working on education in IT. We believe heavily on having a hands-on approach. And so we have a student-run data center, and we also, through Brett Scott and his group, have the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range, where you can come down and learn how to do business best practices with setting up servers, hands-on, and then heading over to the range and learning how to break it. And then also along with that, we have learning how to do threat intelligence to help save the nation. So that's kind of a quick wrap up of what we're about.
Yeah, it's been very awesome. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Rachel Arnold. I am the Human API with SecureNation. I started a crazy little live stream about a year ago, and you guys have all been roped into celebrating the 1-year anniversary with us. So I appreciate everybody who came out and is here today. I know you guys are probably not here just to listen to us yammer on. So I've brought some friends with me, and they're going to introduce themselves shortly. It's crazy because people come up to me and they ask me, how do you start a live stream, and how did you get into InfoSec, and how did you do this, and how do you do that? And I don't know where to start. Just start. Just jump right in the deep end. All right. You're not going to drown, but you're going to take a second to figure out, how to put your floaties on right, right, and kind of paddle to the top. Will joined me as a guest a year ago for the live stream, and then I let him know promptly afterwards that he was I'm keeping you. You're not going anywhere. Sorry. You have to accept now forever. But anyhow, that's how we got here today. So without any further ado, we're going to go on down the line, starting with my good friend, Ryan.
Hey, everybody. Ryan Cloutier. I am the president of SecurityStudio. We are a risk management SaaS-based software company. But more than that, I'm a passionate little cybersecurity squirrel. So when I was about that size, I built my first computer out of parts I found in a dumpster. By the age of 9, I had wrote my first software program. By the age of 9.5, I'd compromised my first system. And by the age of 10, there were men in suits standing at the door. I love this. I love being here. I'm so fond of Rachel. I'm so fond of everybody. Today has just been amazing for me. I travel a lot. I talk a lot. To see what they're doing here at PIMA and the way that not only are we going to help students, but we're actually going to help the nation. We're going to make a difference, and we're going to make an impact. These are the things that get me really excited. So yes, I love to geek out about technology, but the intersection of society, psychology, and technology is really what amps me up. And for those of you that maybe don't know, hacking isn't always about computers. Actually, the most effective way to hack is through other humans. So super stoked to be here, talk to you guys. I've been doing this for a lot of gray hairs. And with that, I'll kick it over to Brett.
Hi there. My name is Brett Scott, and I'm the founder of the National Cyber Warfare Foundation, and the Cyber Warfare Range was the first range operator. Started here in Arizona. We're now in 3 states, 7 ranges. We are expanding a lot. But I am delighted to be here at PIMA Community College. There is something exceptional going on here, right? It starts with leadership from Jim Craig, and I don't know if he's here anymore. I'm going to say something nice about Jim, but that's the last thing I'm going to say nice about him all day long. But it is courageous leaders that are willing to work to do the thing that needs to be done in spite of all the drama about cybersecurity. I mean, everything about cybersecurity is really high dollar. And so people tend to lose themselves. And it's focused people, leaders like Jim Craig, working with Will McCullen, who is literally Lionheart. He has gone through, he works all day long. He has to clean up all the messes that I create by all the F-bombs that I drop and my apparel, because I wore sweats to our opening. And then there's Chris Bonhorst, right? So Chris is extraordinary in helping to produce high quality content that makes it relevant. And so in my day job, I work for a company called TD Synnex. It's now Fortune number 60. And I oversee the commercial version of the Foundations ranges called the Tech Data Cyber Range. And so what's interesting is to see how humble everybody is at PIMA Community College. What they don't realize is that they are recognized all over the United States and soon to be recognized all over the world for what they've accomplished and all of the exceptional things that they are producing. And we just started a program that's going to take students out of PIMA's program and our other cyber ranges and put them directly into cybersecurity jobs through Tech Data, which is the largest distributor of technology in the world. And the combination of all of these things, people working towards a cause, right? Everyone that's sitting here and all of the people that have been leading here, we all share the same passion. We're not sitting up here, we're not making a presentation deck about some silly sponsor and talking about rah, buy our stuff. We're talking to the future of cybersecurity. We're talking to you folks, right? And the reason why we're doing that is because all the money takes care of itself. All the commerce, all the wealth generation, all of that happens on its own. We're focusing on what's important, and we found each other and we're working together. So I'm super excited to work with Will and Rachel, amazing person, also very humble, kind of surprised at how successful he is. We're limited to the number of people we can put in this room, but we're currently sharing this meeting with about 500 people, and it'll probably be higher than that. So that's pretty darn good, right? And so that's not your average podcast. So by all means, enjoy what we're doing here today. And there are a lot of very interesting and very talented people. When I say very interesting, what I really mean is Chris is very, very interesting.
It's an interesting way to hand over the ball. Hey, buddy. So appreciate it. Thank you for having us here, definitely. It's actually been kind of fun hanging out with everybody here over the last, I drove in, I come up from Colorado, down from Colorado. So I drove in last couple of days. And obviously, for those of you that are physically here, you can see I brought one of my buddies with me. I will say, though, for all the thanks and appreciation that is for everybody here that's built the infrastructure, it's all for nothing unless you're here. So for everybody that you like, hey, this is amazing, it means nothing unless you're here and you're part of this. And that really is where we look at this. So for every single one of you, go look in the mirror and go, hey, I do kick ass. I'm here. I'm doing good things. I'm going to make a difference. You've got 3 old folks here. Let's be perfectly honest. We've been kicking around this freaking industry since it was before it was an industry. And so we've had 20, 30, 40 years to make mistakes. And I'll apologize right now because boy, have we made some big ones. Our job now is to look at everybody here and go, how can we help you make more informed, better decisions, and preferably not make quite as many mistakes as we did. And so that's, the reason for driving down here was, A, I get to hang out with my buddy for 900 miles. Secondly, I get to hang out with everybody here for a couple of days. But thirdly is to come down and say, look, you're the future. End of discussion. Look at what we've done, learn from what we've done, but for crying out loud, please bring a fresh set of eyes to this. And so the infrastructure that's been set up here really is that safe space to do that. Now, you might notice I kind of put a bit of graffiti up on the wall over there, which is simple. It says ask more questions. And I mean it. We're here for a very short period of time. Most of us have got a pretty decent presence online. But for crying out loud, take advantage of this time and ask us as many freaking questions as you can. There are no stupid questions. And if you raise your hand, you can be damn sure that 2/3 of the rest of the people around you are also thinking the same thing. Make sense? All right, I'll shut up at this point.
Awesome. So a lot of folks here who've been part of the invitation, been part of looking at this, know what's actually up here and what's actually represented on the stage. This is an incredible amount of experience. These are some of the nation's top hackers. These are individuals that have a perspective and understanding of what's happening across the world that very few people have. They know the depths out there, they know the ugly out there, and they know the creative out there. And these folks are all here to be frank, to be honest, and to answer your questions, right? So what we were trying to do here, what the main focus was to help provide an opportunity where you could get answers to very unique and difficult questions that you don't get anyplace else. And they are not protecting any businesses. They are not trying to sell any speech. They will give you the frank, honest answer.
Probably quite the opposite. Ryan, Evan, and I, we literally have a toasting session on Thursday evenings when we flambe the nearest, latest, and greatest business that's just pissed us off, basically.
Yeah, there you go.
Technology is great when it works.
Hey, does anybody here work in IT? Yeah, no, I'm usually there too. It's a lot of fun.
It is total amount of fun.
Yeah.
Not only that, I mean, back to what was being said. Yeah, I mean, not only do we know where the bodies are buried, we probably put quite a few of them there in the first place. So yeah, although I'm normally the slightly more. I love my tasers. It's as simple as that. I do love this country for that simple fact that I can taser people. You can't do that you just can't do that in England. You did that. They're like, I say, that's not cricket. One isn't allowed to taser people. Over here, it's like, bring it on.
And up the voltage.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that is the one thing. If you're ever going to hack something, hack the tasers. They're so much fun. You get the 3-pronged ones, and you can vary the voltage. So different parts of the body can do different things. It's so much fun to mess around. This is hacking. It's hacking
and I
101.
balance this out by being the care bear of cybersecurity. So I just want to help people. I want to save the kids. I'm trying to, keep the lights on. So to kind of prompt you guys up a little bit to think about questions. We can answer technical questions. We can answer non-technical questions. But I do have a question for all of you, and that is this. How do you protect your family from cybercrime? Think about that. And then ask the people around you. Ask your parents. Ask your friends. Ask your neighbors. How are you doing this? Because you are the only thing that can prevent cybercrime. So I have a Smokey the Bear meme that I throw in a lot of my presentations, and it says, only you can prevent cybercrime. And it's true, because really, this isn't about technology. We use technology to live life now and to conduct life, do business, make systems, which is why a range like this is so important, because we have to make sure that technology has been secured, has been, that we're able to take care of it. But the reason that 25 years in the game? 30 years? I don't know. Gray hair in the game?
Well, I mean, I'm the same as you. I mean, how old are you? 11? 12. I mean, the first official time, well, my first ride in the police car was about the same time as you.
Yeah.
But the first time the police turned up at the house and knocked on the door, my mother answered the door. And literally, she turned around and she's like, Christopher, this is for you.
Mine went a little more like, Ryan, something, what?
Yeah,
I'm
but I mean,
happy
that's...
I'm the only guy up here that didn't get arrested. So
we can change that. But we can.
they don't catch the good hackers.
Give me about 5 minutes with one of these computers.
Can I borrow your phone real quick?
Yeah.
So you guys all thought that I picked the place that we stayed because it was nice, and
Is it?
I have no idea. Hi, because it was nice and welcoming for Milo. Really, it was that really high fence, and I was more thinking keeping you in rather than worried about.
Okay, so here's the problem. One thing I didn't tell you last night is the room you put the most like lunatic of us. Well, almost. I know you and I can probably toss up on that loony one.
I was gonna say, I feel like it was pretty spread out.
Guess where the cable box is. It was in my closet last night, and I found it. It's not happy anymore.
So
It's-
everyone, say a quick prayer for the owner of the house.
Her name is Wendy. She's lovely.
You can prove
She
nothing.
is, she is really, really nice, and
Lovely.
her computer is now talking to a very good friend of mine's in North Korea, and so
Why you do these things? I
'cause
can't
it's
take you
fun.
anywhere.
It's well, no, you can. You take me back the second time to apologize.
That's-
I was thinking we'd update the firmware and change the password before we left.
Oh, the password's changed. Yeah, we got that covered already.
yeah.
So without
always the
further
neighbors.
ado, are there any students here that have a question?
If not, we're gonna. Yes.
Yes.
Hold on there, man.
How you doing? My name's Trey Alexander. I'm a business student here at PIMA. I'm pretty new to this field, so my question is, kind of general. I'm a blank slate here, so I was wondering what skills you would say are requisite for, building enough experience to break into this industry.
You take the civilized one.
So the most powerful skill that you can have as a cyber professional is communication.
Oh,
The next most powerful is psychology. Then we get into technology. I spend more time in my job now trying to convince business leaders that these words I just said that they don't understand are important to them. So really, the number one skill that I would encourage anybody in the technology field or cyber field, it's communication. It is the better you can communicate and speak regular human words to explain some of these ethereal technical concepts, the more effective you're actually going to be as a cyber professional and the more secure your organization will become.
So I would add to that and say that there are different skill sets for the different types of things. So, for example, what's e-commerce, right? What are the things you need to do e-commerce? Golly, that's a term that means almost anything that's transacting online. So cybersecurity, again, is a very broad term. So there are realms within cybersecurity. So there are a lot of colors in cyber with hats and all that other silly BS. But the fact is that there's basically people who defend systems, and there are people who attack systems, either for good or for evil, depending on your attitude that day. But if you're going to be an offensive, attacking type of personality, then I would add to that skill set systems thinking, right? So you don't have to be an uber techno weenie to be good at this stuff. It helps. But if you can think systemically about how things go, you will quite literally have a superpower in the industry. Because most of the red teaming folks are usually trained in some kind of organization, usually law enforcement or military. And to be perfectly honest with you, they have a personality type, and that personality type does not lend itself to systems thinking, which is one of the reasons why our country is not very good at red team. So there are a lot of different skills that you can have that you would need, but I would encourage you to absolutely follow that, because no matter what you're doing, those skills make you win. But then beyond that, there are additional skills that you can develop. And so kind of adding a little bit more to that, and then I'm going to shut up here, is you might not even know what you want to do. And so that's what a range like the Cyber Warfare Range and this Center of Excellence allow you to do. You can quite literally go jumping in all the pools and see what you like and see if you think it suits you and play before it costs you. Then you find that passion, because we are all passionate about cybersecurity. We cannot put the passion in you, but if you have it, we can take you as far down the road as you want to go.
So I'm gonna go two areas. One of them is actually going to build on what Ryan said. When we tend to think of communication, we think of verbal communication. One of the biggest challenges we've had in this industry, and I'll give you the example. I'm okay moving. I'm going to move around. It sucks. It is what it is. One of the biggest things we've had in this industry is literally we've come in, we've been brought in. Hey, I need a pen test. We'll have that conversation in a minute. So we go in, we break all of your shit, and then we go like, well, you suck, fuckers, and then we leave. The hell use is that? It's none. If I can't articulate in a written form, I can stand here and talk to you all damn day long. But if I can't get what I'm saying down in writing so that it persists, so that you don't just leave it on the side for 12 months to gather dust, so you do something with it. That written communication, as well as the verbal ability to tell people and articulate in such a way that they understand, the ability to write it down in a way that somebody can do something with it. We get pretty well paid, no two ways about it, but it's all for freaking nothing if people don't change. And unfortunately, when we've left, let's face it, we get the plane ticket, we come in, we break all of his shit, and we go, ha, look, planted another flag. Fuck out of there. But that's no good if we can't leave you something behind that you can do something with, that you can take it to the business and go, hey, there are risks. Here's what they are in a way that you understand. So that's one. The other one, and this is one of the interview questions I tend to give people. I hand a cup. I'm normally wandering around with a cup of tea. Just it is what it is.
British.
Down Scottish as well. I mean, it's Yorkshire Gold. It's kind of like that halfway house. It's like the demilitarized zone between England and Scotland. You wee bunch of southern numpties didn't come anywhere. Anyway, so the other part of it is I hand people a cup. And I'm actually end up putting it on the table. I'm like, give me 10 different ways that you can get the liquid out of that cup without touching it. And it's really interesting to see how people work. And I don't expect everybody to come up with the 10 same ways. I don't expect anything. We have people that unfortunately can't get to 5 or 6. Great. Let's take that. But we've also got people who come up with 20 or 30 ways, including trained squirrels, abseiling in, turning gravity off for a bit, and all sorts of crazy shit. And it's that ability to look at a problem and go, oh, that's cool. Now what are we going to do about it? Back to that learning from us, but having different viewpoints. And that's a huge thing as well. So to me, it would be cultivating those 2 skills.
So put yourself in his chair at the moment.
Yeah.
You're just getting into the industry. How do you approach that?
So this is where doing something like this to me is huge. It's networking. It's the human standpoint. The biggest issue, and again, if you don't mind, we are recording this, aren't we? You're going to hate me because I'm going to get up.
We are recording this.
I know,
Yeah.
that's-
Just make sure you don't walk too far from your spot for.
Oh, I'm coming over to him.
We need some tape on the floor.
I think Will said exchange seats with him.
Oh no, shit ain't gonna. Yeah, we're gonna
Chris,
mess everybody around. Oh shit. Yep. Sorry. Or I'll sit. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Mars.
Yeah, that's the only problem.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's the thing.
Now you all know why I have a job.
Yeah. If he's going for a job and he's coming to me for a job, he sends in a resume. I've got a stack of resumes. I no freaking clue. I don't. And it's terrible as it sounds to see that's what it is. Him now walking up to me going, hey, loved having a conversation with you. We hung out. I was the crazy one wearing the army underwear and the kind of cool t-shirt. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I know who he was. Loved the conversation I had with him. That resume gets put in the let's have a further conversation pile. The same thing on LinkedIn, the same thing on social media, the same thing at conferences, the same thing here at the college. This is all about networking. It's all about the human aspect. It's all about saying, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you had that amazing manga t-shirt. Oh yeah, fantastic. That's that trigger. And to me, that's probably one of the key things.
So
So-
I want to build on that for a second.
I'm going to build next. I'm just saying I'm in line.
Get some. You know this group. You got to jump. You got to jump
You
in.
better get over here, squirrel.
So, what are you most passionate about today? What is like the number one thing that you're most excited about in life?
That's a pretty big question, but
Or
I,
just one of the things that you're passionate about?
well, I would say I'm passionate about music. I like
Okay.
music.
Awesome. So, what I try to do is take that passion and start to tie it back into your learning about business. So, what about music? Is it the creative process? Is it the emotional experience of listening to it? Start to unpack that, because if you can tie your passion into the job skill, not only are you going to love your work more, but you're going to be more effective. And early in your career, this will help guide you. So, for example, Chris is amazing and Brett is amazing at stuff that I personally, can I do it? Yeah. Am I the best in the world to do it? Maybe not. Like cryptography, for example. I'm not really a huge fan of solving these like insanely complex math problems, right? Now, but somebody needs to do that. But I love the people side of it, right? So for me, then my passion is in helping and serving people. So then I've tied my learning, I've tied my work, and I've tied my networking to build off of what Chris said, networking. It's about who you know. You know, I met this guy on LinkedIn,
I met all of you on LinkedIn.
and now we're all family. Like, and seriously, and it just started with a post. Somebody said something. That's how I met Evan. If you guys ever watch the podcast, Evan is cut of a very similar cloth. Amazing guy. But it was a LinkedIn post.
Hey, Ryan, did everybody you reached out to on LinkedIn to make a connection with, did they all respond to you?
They did.
That did not happen for me. So good job on you, buddy.
I was offering free help in cybersecurity.
I was probably a little more suspect because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just like, hey, how are you doing? How's the fam? But you know what? I kept going. And even though people didn't say anything or didn't recognize that I was even alive, eventually somebody did. And it was Ryan and Brett and Will and Chris and Alyssa, who couldn't be here today. But it was you guys who came up and said, well, hey, you're weird. We like you.
We like weird.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to add to that for a second as well. What I'm actually really enjoying here is we have a diverse crew here. And that makes me really freaking happy. This industry, unfortunately, is not, and suspect by the three of us sitting up here that have probably got 20, 30, 40 years each between us. We have been the bastions of this industry, and that has to change big time.
On the idea of diversity, right? What we don't mean is the color of your skin, because that doesn't mean anything. So you can't even change that. What we mean is diversity of thinking, right?
100%.
And so a lot of people say, well, I'm not a computer nerd. I don't know how to code. All of these excuses as to why they shouldn't be in cybersecurity. And what I say to them is, I say, that's actually a good reason for you to be in cybersecurity. You think differently. So I'm trying to open up cyber ranges in Compton and South Central Los Angeles. Not because I like California, not because I think that's a cool thing to do. And I'm definitely not doing it for humanitarian reasons. I'm doing it because they think totally different than those of us in suburbia, those of us who have wealth and things like that. I am loving all of the effort to bring females into our industry. Women totally think differently about everything than men do. And adding that to the dialogue has made all the difference in the world. So no matter what your passions are, what your hobbies are, or how you approach the things, we need you in cyber, because the good news is everybody in cyber sucks at their job. Like, everyone's really bad. So if you have a passion, you will easily eclipse the tops of the industry if you will work at it. And because of that, that means it's easy to access. So that means opportunity, right? If you're a businessman, you say, my gosh, look at how big this opportunity is. But as you come into it, bring with you all of those experiences. I have a person who runs the cyber range at Tech Data. She had never done anything like that before. She's done all kinds of different jobs. And it was a nice, tough sell to my VPs to say, this is our best cyber range master. Not this person out of the Air Force that's been running the Air Force cyber ranges. It's this woman right here. This is the woman who would be the perfect person. And my gosh, she is amazing at that job. And why she's amazing is she brought her job as an accountant, as an EMT, as a fire truck driver, as a bunch of different things.
And a very fierce individual.
Yeah, she puts up with me as a boss, so that should tell you everything you need to know about the second most patient woman in the world. The first one is my wife, obviously. But that's exactly the kind of diversity that we mean when we talk about that, because you can change your attitude. You can change a lot of things like that. What color your hair is, who you decide to have as a life mate, none of that stuff means anything to anyone. No one cares. What we care about is how you think differently to help us approach problems differently.
I would say no one should care. Let me put it that way. I'm going to put an asterisk by it, because unfortunately, it ain't all freaking roses on this side of the fence. We have some absolute numpties and wombles in this industry.
And that's British for bad things.
So the question was how to break into cybersecurity, right? Like, where to get started? What skills to bring to the table?
With a hammer.
All of them. Your whole life, all of your experience is all valuable to the entire industry. It doesn't matter what kind of background you have.
Yeah,
I would add to that, though, real quick, is probably the most important thing is to have curiosity, right? Don't just come into this business trying to find out what knobs to twist. We're going to find out why they twist the way they twist. And these folks are all experts at taking what the normal why is and turning it on its head, simply because they're curious.
We take the knobs off.
And switch them around and do the
Turn them into
cable.
buttons, levers and switches.
Now, here's a caveat. He and I got away with that shit years ago because, quite honestly, when you get arrested, the police are like, oh, what the hell do we do with them?
It's so true. Give them a job.
Yeah, well done, that chap. Yeah, so well, don't break into the bank again. That's a good boy. Nowadays, you are likely to have the book thrown at you, which is why here is that safe space. Either do it here, do it in your own environment. I mean, the lovely thing about this world now is you can literally build your own virtual data center on a freaking hard drive and a cheap and cheerful bloody Arduino. Or you can get your ass in here and hang out with some amazing folks and do the same thing on their gear. By the way, you have Google banana boxes next door. I am still geeking the hell out with those
He
things.
literally jumped like 3 feet in the air and clicked his heels together.
Oh, I was so freaking happy. I have broken into so many freaking companies with those things, including some the Vatican. We broke into the Vatican. we know what's going on in that lunatic asylum.
And all he had to do was push F12.
I saw that work on a video once.
Yeah, it's the curious. I mean, the old saying "curiosity killed the cat" is a very true one. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases, and that F12 is a perfect example, you have the unfortunate potential of being made an example of. So try to find a safe space to do it. Now, you're fortunate. I'm very fortunate. I get to poke the bear. I'm very, very lucky. I get to piss off the feds. I get to poke and prod because I can get away with it because of other things that are going on. But I'm still very, very respectful of it. That takes time to get to. And eventually you can also have the same fun. But it takes time and it takes a lot of other things. This is an amazing safe space to do those kinds of crazy things. Take advantage of it, please.
Yeah, and the home lab versus here, I mean, we just put $4 million worth of equipment into the cyber warfare range over there, and you have a lot of resources poured into here. So there's a good chance you don't have $4 million lying around looking for something to do. So this is a place where you can come in and play with a very large network to do lots and lots of things. So this place is created so you can do all the things, you can break all the things. We bring all kinds of things in here to break, and you can go home not worrying about if your door's rattling, if that's the police coming in.
Isn't that what your neighbors are for?
I mean,
Certainly. Not really, though.
I mean,
So-
don't tell them. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we are actually being recorded. This is actually evidence, so yes.
How about another question?
yes.
Thank you for coming today. I have a question to piggyback off diversity and gender bias. What advice do you have for women coming into this industry to really break through, and what are you guys doing to advocate for us?
So as a man, I caution,
Wait. Let me just go. Whew, yeah, girl, I see you.
right? As a man, I caution other men about giving advice on what women should do with women issues. But having said that, do not put up with anything ever. You are equal. End of story. So by you taking that stand and not playing along, Rachel and I actually had a fabulous conversation a few weeks back about some of the societal normalities when it comes to things like gender or inclusion, diversity, equity, these different topics that we struggle with as a society. And if you were told that, good girls behave themselves, they don't speak up, they don't talk back, well, it's not talking back. It's you don't get to talk to me like that. We're done. This conversation's over. Do not speak to me that way. I'll give you your one shot. And the second time you do it, it's going to turn into an HR problem. Okay, so that's the first thing. Just do not put up with it. That'll help it to slow down and hopefully eventually stop. The second thing is, find peer groups. So there's an amazing lady named Vicky.
Gatewood.
There's only
Thank
one,
you.
so it'll be easy to find her.
And what she's done in Florida is started it's cyber.
The women's
Women in
cyber
cyber-
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Thank you.
women's
See,
cyber
this is
jiu-jitsu.
why I have a Rachel.
Don't worry, I got you.
Right.
That's what I'm here for.
See, turns out strong woman helps keep the squirrels right under control. So I would say, work within your communities as well. And there are changes coming. A lot of the old guard is finally starting to die off, retire out, go away.
Thankfully.
Yeah, seriously, because it is garbage. And there is some bro culture, okay? And that's not okay, but we have to confront it. And so to the women, I say, stand up for yourself. To the men, don't try to stand up for her. But if you see a fellow man behaving in an inappropriate way, remind him he's a little boy, not a man, and he needs to stop that shit.
Okay, well, I mean, you don't have to go that, but just stepping up and going,
I get,
Hey.
I get worked up about this one.
At
I
what
know
part
you
do we
do.
kick his
I know.
ass?
I mean,
I'm just taking notes. So
as a woman that's been in this situation before, there have been times where there were a couple of male colleagues standing around. One of them began to be a bit inappropriate, and it got uncomfortable. And the biggest help and the best moment that I can recall is whenever my other colleague stepped over, leaned into him, and said, "That's not funny, and it's not okay." He was immediately shut down. Immediately. So for any male counterparts that are out there that are wondering how to support, women in the industry, just speaking up and saying that's not okay is great, because silence, you are definitely 100% making it okay.
How many of you are former military? All right, you understand the concept of team. You understand the fact that somebody else has your back. End of discussion. You sleep, somebody else is watching over you, typically armed with a finger on the trigger. Agreed? That's the mentality. You don't carry their pack unless they need the help. You're there for them. You're right there with them. You are marching alongside. And when they look over and go, hey, need a little bit of help over here, you're there. No questions asked. End of discussion. That's what it means. The women in cyber jiu-jitsu, I've gone off. I've had a ton of fun. Same thing with girls who code. There are a ton of things. I every Wednesday after, not every Wednesday, I haven't had a chance to go to the last couple, but for probably about every second or third Wednesday, there's black women in cybersecurity. I go hang out on Wednesday afternoons with Joanna and a bunch of other folks. It's awesome. It's a ton of fun just hanging out and listening and going, okay, I can help out here. I understand this. It's more of an awareness. I think that's the other part of it. It's actually freaking educating yourself that the old white privileged guy is an old white privileged guy. And so what the hell can I do? That's a lot of it as well. It's just some self-education.
So I have, this is my oldest son, Andrew, here, and I've got 2 boys and 2 girls, right? And so it's a weird that I'm going to be the balancing guy, so that's just unusual. I'm feeling uncomfortable. But the fact is that another superpower that you have is not giving a fuck, right? So I actually, at home, my poor daughters have to suffer me, and I tease them relentlessly. And I do all kinds of things. I say sexist statements and all kinds of things. And so my youngest daughter, she came home from a soccer practice, and there was a young man there who was being extremely misogynistic. And she came back and she goes, "Dad, that's why you say all the things you do." Because he said that to me and it didn't mean anything. And I told him to go away. And it didn't even bother me. And I was like, that's exactly why I do what I do. So you will never give anyone the power to offend you, right? That's a waste of your energy and time. And it's harder for women because you're meant to care. Women bond this society together. They bring families back together. They help overcome conflict and so forth and so on. So it's a bit of a natural emotion, but if you encounter that space, absolutely stand up and say, F you, buddy. But by the same token, do it from a place of correction, not from a place of I'm offended and mad. If you are allowing them to make you mad, find out what that is and stomp that out, because no one should have that power over you.
And also know that we are working right now to start up a women's group in amongst the students to help deal with the anxiety of feeling alone in a class. That garbage has got to stop. But you know what? I've got an awesome howitzer behind me, right? So I invited someone else to be part of that women's group.
I was like,
Rachel.
Isn't that group that we've been talking smack about all y'all in? Yeah, it is. I didn't want to say anything yet, but yeah. I mean, no, we're totally bonding together and collaborating to build a very strong women's group. We are actually, though. It's really cool.
Rachel.
Oh, hey, what's up?
I am also in that group, and whoever wants my phone number, I am completely ready to give it out to any of you. It doesn't matter if it's on Signal, Discord, PIMA email, just reach out if you want to.
That's awesome.
Excuse me, why didn't you come say hello? I only know you by a number, ma'am.
Maybe you guys could work this out in a bit.
There you go. There's another problem right there with women stuff. Look, you saw me standing over there talking. You know I know you. We know each other. You have every right to go, excuse me, I'm right here. I am visible and you should see things and talk to me. What's up?
Yeah.
Woo. I think somebody else had a question right here actually earlier.
Thank you.
Oops.
So I'm really curious about your opinion on, well, obviously we don't need to convince anybody here that cybersecurity is important. You know, we're in a room filled with people interested in that. I'm really curious as to what your argument is or opinions are on how we educate the general population when every other professional is telling them that their field is important. Obviously, we have the media to back us up with all the stuff that's going on. But what else can we do? Should we start from the beginning, teaching little kids about computers, security, etc.? But we still have all these generations that, you know, went by without knowing any of this stuff. Do we wait until they hit college? Do we teach them then? What do we do with them?
So you just tapped into my biggest passion.
Oh no, it is now the Ryan show.
So here it is. Ready? It's not about security. It's about life skills. When do we start teaching life skills?
All the time.
From day one, right? So before we hand over the iPad, we need to teach the safety, not security. Be very specific about these words because these are the words that resonate with the non-technical audience. Safety is understood, security is ethereal. So I'm not teaching you cybersecurity, I'm teaching you digital safety life skills. And why is that important? Physical safety. The purple bearded man can make the airplanes fall out of the sky.
That's a true statement.
Allegedly, that's right. Sorry, this is being
No
recorded.
convictions.
Yeah.
That is not, yeah. I was like, that
we
is
don't
not.
really know what happens. It might have just been a tweet. We don't know. But it's about personal connection. Okay, so how do you get people to care about anything?
Wait, let me ask a question. Personal relation to the audience. How many people here have children? I have children. I have 3. How many of those children have tablets? How many of those children understand that people in Roblox can talk to them? How many of those children know how to identify if those other people talking to them in Roblox are adults? How do you know that they're adults? How do you know that they're not kids?
How many people have disabled the chat feature because we
right
don't
here.
need the child talking to people
right
on the
here.
internet?
You need
So-
help, I'll help you.
So that's
Okay.
the other piece of this, right? We need to do some age appropriate stuff. This is why I work with K-12 so closely, because what I'm trying to do in the school system is say, hey, literally you're giving out iPads in kindergarten. And by the way, that Finsta account is registered to the school email. It's the first email address that kids usually get. And so they go and they set up the fake Instas and the Snaps and all the TikToks and different apps out there. My son just sent me a list of new ones. He's like, Dad, you said you need to keep up, so here you go. I'm like, yay, thanks, buddy. But it's about that personal connection back to safety. And speak simply. Okay, the minute we go tech, we lose them. I've been married to my wife for 22 years. It wasn't until I became the president of a company that she knew what I did for a job. And we lived together. She's like, I don't know what DevSecOps. Who's getting what? Where? What? What are these things, right? And so that's how the average person thinks about this topic. So as you get into the workforce, as you start to interact with what we call users, and by the way, we're the only other industry besides the illegal drug industry that refers to our customers as users.
It's because we have gotten them very addicted.
And I love that you said that. Also, your device is addictive by design. So not only are you dealing with people that don't fully grasp what they're doing because it's magical, but you're also dealing with a brain that is addicted. And so they process information different. So make it simple, make it real, make it personal. And I promise if enough of us jump on this bandwagon, we will absolutely make a change and we will be able to move this needle forward.
So I'm delighted to have a son who pursued my passion, which is programming. And he's an amazing programmer, better than I ever was. And so he started working on databases. He's a very young man, and he creates his first database application. He's very proud. He comes to me and goes, Dad, check this out. I got this thing. And I'm like, cool. So the first thing I do is I SQL inject his application. And he goes, oh, how do you stop that? And I said, you've just begun your cybersecurity journey. Let's go. And so some people are now judging me going, you're a dick. And fine, whatever, I am. But the fact is that it's a culminating process. It's always going on. And for example, boys and girls have different problems online. They face different challenges in dealing with online threats and problems, even close to them. And so it really takes constantly reinforcing, constantly experiencing, talking in terms that they understand. I mean, I love the safety versus cybersecurity, which is this thing up in the sky, right? And all of those things working together help people to develop a maturity. So for example, my second son, he gave his user ID and password to a guy who said he would upgrade one of his things in a video game and then took his account.
Sorry about that.
No, I thought it was great. So I said, you may not use the computer until you've hacked him back and taken your shit. Okay, and so we took a little time. We hacked the guy back and got his account back, right? And what he understood, he lost the thing he liked doing because somebody stole from him and realized he had to fight to get it back. And all of that helped him to develop a much better maturity model. My oldest daughter, she's amazing at threat intelligence and investigating and finding out if that an adult or not an adult. And she learned all of those skills by helping us do things like fighting terrorism and sex trafficking and all these other nasty things that people do to each other. So by involving them and helping them understand things and giving them those types of skills, they are better prepared to deal with the outside world. And I love all of our children being cyber resilient because, as you know, the bad guys target families as much as they do the target themselves. So the hardest person that's having time with this is my wife, who didn't get all of that culminating development, didn't have that long experience to cybersecurity. And so I love when my kids are helping my wife make better decisions in cyber.
So you can guarantee that his PTA group for parents teaching kids on how to thwart sex trafficking, that's got to be a real interesting PTA meeting.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. It's very calm. People are fine.
Well received.
Yeah. They're like, this is great information.
A lot of my fellow volunteers over the Innocent Lives Foundation, we always often joke about that our conversations are a little bit different than everybody else's, I guess you could say.
So squirrel moment, because you guys just touched on something, and then Chris, give you a piece. Mental health is really important in our industry. So that's what triggered it is, so sometimes in this job, you're going to see stuff you can't unsee. Sometimes in this job, you're going to get brought in to help solve problems that are very important and need solving, but do affect you personally. So just make sure that you're putting that self-care first. Just super important to do that.
We'll touch on that in a little bit, definitely. So back to your question, what can we do? How many of you drove here? All right. How many of you stopped at the traffic lights and there was somebody stood there holding a sign? How many of you have been in those situations where you've had to do that? Yeah. Okay. Most of you? Panhandling. Well, everybody aware of it? I got a challenge for every single person, not just in this room, but every single person listening. Here's what I want. Over the next month or 2 months, take yourself, go stand in one of those places. If you've got to take the other person who's there and go get them dinner, go get them dinner. But stand there and just stand there with a sign. And you can choose a couple of different signs.
I want to list out some safety protocols here that I think are important to mission. Please make sure it is a well-lit corner, and you may want to take a buddy.
Walk up and down. Get people to pay attention for 5 seconds. Do you know where your data is? Is your password 123456? Change it. Is your phone password 111111? Get some signs.
Was it our friend Matt that actually accomplished this and posted up his pictures recently?
It
Yeah.
was our good friend Matt Goodacre,
Yes.
or as I say it, Goodacre.
Good acre. Good acre. Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, you want to affect change, and you are the one that actually have reinforced this to me. What's your saying? The island one.
Get off of InfoSec Island, please.
And that's huge. We have spent, what's DEF CON? What was DEF CON this year? 27, 28, 20 something. We've spent 25 to 30 years standing on stage talking to ourselves.
Preaching to the choir, man.
Yeah, it's no freaking use to mankind. We all know the problems, exactly as you said. We're all in it. We don't need to be convinced. What we need to do is get the hell out of here and go talk to everybody else. The kids, the young ones that we have influence over, and everybody that's around. Now, you can make a decent sized sign and say, if you want to give me money, donate it to the Innocent Lives Foundation. I got no problem with that. But get out, literally, get out on the street corner. Go wander down the shopping mall and just tell people. Remember early days of the shit show? We did the door-to-door thing.
We did, and if you look at the shit show, we actually run it under something called the InfoSec Missionaries. So Evan and I both follow Jesus, and we take that same missionary approach to cyber. Literally,
Yeah.
like that exact same, hey, let me talk to you. If you guys ever get a chance to hang out with me, it's a little bit ridiculous. When we're out at bars and restaurants, like I am going to the waitress, I'm like, so is the login for the cash register for the training waitress 123 or 1234? And she's like, no, it's 5567. Thanks. Right? I will go in the kitchen and I'll be like, I need a box of latex gloves. And everybody's like, what is going on? And who's this guy? But I did it with such authority. Like, no, really, I need this now. I'm here right now. And I do that to demonstrate to the people that are with me how these things work. And they have these aha moments because they've seen it. I didn't hack anything, but I showed them how easy people can be manipulated if they don't stop and ask why. Something Chris opened with. Ask more questions. I am married to a perpetual 5-year-old, and I love it because it's always why. And I'm like, because we have to do it that way. Well, why? Explain it to me. So ask the whys, ask them the whys, because they're going to ask you the why. And so if you can't explain the value of multi-factor, because they don't get it, it sounds like an extra step, right? And it's going to be different for different people. How do I get a 13-year-old to care? Because if we don't do that, the video games don't work. And keep it that simple, right? So that would be.
So I can see that there's just probably a ton of cashiers in your hometown going, oh no, here he comes again.
His picture is up all over town.
I'm not saying that the gas station closest to my house automatically discounts my favorite products or anything.
So we got a great question here from the Overflow. Yay, folks in the Overflow. What would be your normal day at your hacking jobs? And have you ever walked off the job for moral reasons?
Oh, there's a wow.
That's a great question.
Wow, cool. Everybody's got like nothing to do after this, right? You guys are cool staying here for a while? Cool.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry.
So everybody can hear.
You want me to hit that? You want me to hit that one quickly?
Yeah, I think you could open this one.
So I'll open it. I left the last cutscene. You can see it on LinkedIn. I left the last company I was working for. I was earning a decent wage. And I did my due diligence on the way in, and I asked all the questions I thought I needed to ask, and a few more that I probably needed to, and I talked to a lot of other people. I got in there and realized that things were not quite as they seemed. And I got told after, I was in there maybe for about a month or so, And I'm like, okay, we need to have a conversation about this. And I basically got told, well, everybody else does it this way. It's okay. And I'm like, that's lying. They're like, yeah, it's okay. Everybody else is doing it. And I literally, the last time I remember having these moments is typically when you get arrested, or normally as like a kid and you suddenly realize that, oh, this is not going to end well. And you get almost that tunnel vision moment. And I had that, and I'm sitting on this conference call and I'm like, this just isn't right. It's not good. And I went back to Jen. I'm like, I'm going to have to bail. And she's like, oy vey, you know, what's going on? And I say, and she's like, yeah, get the hell out of there. That was the last time. There have been other times that I've walked away from environments. Now, the caveat on that one is go in with your eyes open. If you're going to work for the government, understand what they do before you sign up. When you sign on that dotted line that says thou shalt retain the very secrets that thou art entrusted with, know what you are doing before you start. Because getting halfway through and going, I have a moral crisis on this one, not going to be an excuse. You can walk away from it. Don't take anything with you.
That's why it's important to have friends like Kathy.
Yeah.
The lawyer side of everything.
Yeah, EFF as well. I've got a soft spot for EFF. EFF has helped bundle me out on more than one occasion.
So, two-part question, right? A day in the life of a hacker. What do we do when we're hacking, right? We're problem solving. We're unpacking problems. That's what we're doing. So we usually have a goal in mind. That goal could be getting access to a database. That goal could be offlining a server. That goal could be deploying malware, right? We have a goal in mind.
Hey, Ryan, how'd you get that goal?
How did I get, well, it depends on
Like, how do you, whatever goal it was, does it just you were inspired by a daily action that maybe you were taking and curious, or?
Well, generally, if I'm being paid, I'm at work, I have
No,
an
I mean,
objective.
I mean, just, you know, all the time. Like,
Oh.
how did you get started in it?
Oh, me?
A lot of us
In-
don't get paid
okay,
first.
So how did I get started in cyber? I have an insatiable curiosity for how things work. I remember getting screamed at in, I think it was 1988 when I took the VCR apart. And my father was losing his mind because, well, I could take it apart. I could not yet put it back together. And back then, VCRs were like the cost of a car. I love to know how things work. I'm also mechanically inclined as well. Like, so gearing and gear ratios and car mechanics. And I blacksmith as a hobby, like just kind of weird like that, right? I like to know how things work. So that's what inspired me to get into computing. And then back in the day, like companies would literally get a 286 and all the IBM XT machines went in a dumpster, which is how I got my hands on, computing equipment when I was a poor kid. And that curiosity, I just love solving problems and learning, and technology keeps moving forward. So I will never learn everything that I can. I can't even learn everything about one thing, let alone everything about everything in technology. So it's that insatiable appetite. And really all hacking is figuring out how it works and how I'm going to make it work the way I want. Another way I describe hacking is it is simply making something work in a manner other than what the manufacturer intended. Okay.
So does that make you a bad person?
Intent.
If you're a hacker?
So no, hackers are curious. Show of hands. Anybody ever use duct tape or WD-40? Cool. You're a master hacker, right? Because it's a mindset. It's more about a mindset. Now, where we turn into a cyber criminal is when we're doing it because of ill motivation. Okay, we're doing it for harm, for crime, for theft. When you're at the cyber range here at PIMA, you're doing it for good. It's the same mental process, it's the same tools, it's the same skills, but it's the intent of why you're doing it that makes a difference.
Yeah, so, the moral question is something we haven't really touched on here. And so the Hacker's Manifesto starts with my crime is curiosity, right? And so that's exactly what it is. I tore all my toys apart. Some of them got back together, mostly not the way that they intended to be put back together. So I similarly did things, very destructive things to expensive things, et cetera. But when you're approaching attacking, there are parts of the world that we don't like to think about. We live in the safest country in the world. We have all kinds of things that other countries simply don't have. Like you can turn on the water, drink it, and you will be just fine. You can turn on the light switch and the lights will come on and then they'll stay on until you turn them back off again. So there are a lot of things that we have that other people do not have, which is one of the reasons why everyone's trying to take a chunk out of us, right? And in that problem, there are people who will do horrible things to us because they can, and we're not good at protecting ourselves. So every single country on the planet has people that murder on behalf of their country. Every single country has bad guys that attack other countries and harm infrastructure and do all of those things. Every single country does that. So, you know, that's why I hate the color of hats in cybersecurity. They're like, well, are you a white hat or a black hat? And I'm like, here, I'm a saint. And
It's now red and green, by the way, if you didn't get the memo.
Yeah, no shit. Not
We
only
changed
that,
it.
I'm like, and again, we have some representation. White equals good, bad equals black. I mean, what were we thinking?
In the Westerns, that's the way it works. But the fact is that I'm Satan incarnate to enemies of the United States. I am literally the Antichrist to these people. And you know what? Screw them. Like, they're not us. They're not protecting my kids. So you want the fight? Let's go have it. And we'll see who walks away, right? It is that simple. So that's the moral code, right? And if you have trouble understanding that you have to protect our country, and if we don't, bad things happen to us all, then maybe pursue the blue team, just be a defender, et cetera, et cetera. So again, if you feel that you might be wrestling with this, that's your conscience telling you, choose another path, right? Because there are people like me, I would delightfully wipe out all of our enemies. I've met them, I know them as people, they're nice people. I could easily see them as friends of mine in this country, but they're on the team that's trying to hurt me. So I'm going to hurt them. And it's just the way it is. So I hope that gets to the morality of what's going on. There are people who constitutionally can deal with that, right? Firefighters do the dumbest thing in the world. They go running into a burning building, right? And they do it all the time. Police, whatever you think of them, they do things that you would not do. That's why you called them. That's why we don't have guns. We don't have fights in the street with gunfights and things like that. It's because we have these police officers who are willing to do the dumbest thing in the world.
You haven't been to Detroit recently, have you?
Yeah. Well, there's certain parts of the country, right? But the fact is that there are people who are willing to do the things, like our military. Everyone over there has guns? Awesome. Let's go over there and stop them. Like, that's a crazy thought, but we have men and women who do that, and thank God for them, because if they didn't do their job, we wouldn't have the luxury of being offended by something that somebody said, right? We'd be dead. It's that simple. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction, which is back to what Ryan was saying with curiosity. I'm fascinated by the future. I'm absolutely fascinated. One of the projects, I'm working on some just crazy fun stuff at the moment. One of the projects is I want to synthesize the human. Now, we're not going to do the Elon approach of stick a chip in a human and call it good because, well, yeah, let's see. No, let's not do that one. But what I'm doing is, and this is part of a longer term project with some other folks, is we're looking at taking individuals and seeing, can we basically synthesize the human? How much of the brain and the other functions that we have all throughout the entire neural system can we understand? How can we map them? What can we do? And then how much intelligence can we give them so that they can start to make their own decisions? The system I'm running at home that we're doing a lot of design work on now can predict when I want, I'm not joking on this, can predict when I want my cup of tea before I actually know it. It's already pulling out the brain signals. It's already detecting other things that I'm not thinking about consciously, but subconsciously will eventually surface. So we're working on that one. At the same time, we've been for a couple of years now working on nanotech and biotechnology for humans. How can we help more effectively? Then you take it a different way altogether. We all know what traditional network communication is. You've got an entire rack of the damn stuff next door. Well, great. It doesn't work if you're out in frickin' space. It doesn't really work on this planet anymore. What can we do differently? So then we take a different approach entirely and we start looking at what's known as quantum entanglement. And we start going, well, hang on, if we take an entire jam jar full of molecules and lop half in half and stick half on one side of the planet and the other half the other planet, can we use those to communicate? The answer is actually yes. Well, hang on. So why the hell are we sending hundreds of pounds worth of comms gear into outer space and everywhere else? We can literally send a jam jar of freaking molecules or half a jam jar of molecules. A little more complicated, but ain't much more than that. We can do that. And then you start looking at the weird shit, which is where the math comes in. You're like, these buggers are talking faster than the speed of light. How does that work? Bugger if I know. Let's figure this shit out as we go along. So you can do some amazing stuff that doesn't involve traditional computing, and you put safety in place. You look at security in place, and there's just so many different ways you can look at this, and so many areas we influence. And I think that's one of the other things. When we first started this industry, when something went wrong, you rebooted the damn thing. As we start to progress and as we start to integrate more into the human side of the world and everything else, as all of you hit this industry, reboot it doesn't really answer the problem anymore. It probably creates more problems. Sorry, it doesn't answer the issue. So there's all sorts of interesting things we have to look at that. So that, you want to look at inspiration, ways to look at how to change, how to focus, what to think about. There is so much. And we haven't even touched vehicles or transportation or even just traditional, hey, there's 30 million small businesses in this country. How the hell do we help some of them that get ignored by most of our industry?
So we got a question over here.
Yeah, every single tool has good and evil uses. Your car got you here today. Bad people look for crowds of people and use that same car to kill them, right? A hammer is a wonderfully useful tool that constructs your house. A hammer is used to harm other people. Every single useful tool has good and evil purposes. And so we have to approach it with maturity and say every useful thing is both great and dangerous. Let's learn to try to make ways to make this not dangerous. So the cybersecurity people are the people who
Milo got very excited. Run.
This is fascinating. So periodically, apparently, you have to exercise a dog. And as you can see, Chris is applying his talents and doing exactly that. So
I think it's hilarious that you think Chris is exercising the dog. I think the dog is exercising Chris.
Graduate level. At the graduate.
By the way, if you guys haven't met Milo,
yeah.
Working, Mike.
At the graduate level, like you go for a master's or PhD, there's a lot of programs that encourage the use of communities of practices or accountability groups. Have you done much of that for trying to not only organize people who are getting into cybersecurity, but people like in micro entrepreneurships who need to know some of this? Like there's people who make a living on Instagram, on YouTube. Have you done much to help bring those groups together to learn more about cybersecurity?
Yeah, so all of us do a lot of speaking to all kinds of different groups. I mean, I tell people I would speak to the sewing glove if you can get them together, right? And I use that as it's a double joke, right? So anyway, but the fact is that cybersecurity touches every aspect of our lives. You could literally say, I'm disconnecting from the grid. I'm going to live in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Your life is still impacted by cybersecurity. And because of that, and because it touches every part of our lives, that means everyone needs to be brought along. What the technologists of the world have failed to do is, first of all, we failed to get flying cars, so, F these guys. But second of all, we failed to create an augmentative technology that allows humans to be humans and have some compensating mechanisms where there is a synergy between train the humans up a bit, but also give them better stuff that protects them. I mean, you have a seatbelt in your car, you have airbags. That's because people don't necessarily make great decisions when making turns, right? And so because of that, we need an augmentative synergy between both the technology and the people. But yes, we all talk to all kinds of different groups. I mean, for example, I did a post on LinkedIn just raking HR people all over the coals, saying you have the worst profession in the world, you should all kill yourselves. And then I started getting invited to keynote HR conferences. And I was like, either this is the most creative assassination attempt I've ever seen, or maybe they want to hear what we're talking about. Right? So
I have no idea why you have any trouble making friends. I have no. You're just so open and warm and fuzzy, very friendly. Do we have another question? Oh, Am I the one? I should have been moving. My bad. I'm moving now.
My name's Rachel too.
It's a good name. What's up?
It is. So I have a question, and it has to do with the sort of why, but I want to frame it as a how question. You mentioned the importance of why earlier, and it has to do with the future as well. As a teacher, I actually work for PIMA College. One of my concerns is, how do we prepare people for a future that we have no idea what's going to happen? How do we even begin to answer those questions or prepare 12-year-olds when we have no idea what's to come?
So we are analog. Our software and hardware has not updated in 10,000 years. So here's the cool part. No matter what comes next, humans are still humans. Let's make sure as we change how our life operates. So I'll take you in a time machine for a second. There used to be this thing called the horse and buggy. Okay? And before that, it was the chariot, right? What's the wheel? How many hundreds of thousands of years old is the wheel? Something like that?
I hear it's coming out by Apple.
Oh, yes, Apple.
The iWheel.
The iWheel.
Yeah.
Take your car straight into a bridge. So as we adopt these new technologies, we need to tie it back to our analog self. I have a whole talk series I do on being an analog human attempting to live a digital life and the inherent incompatibility, which is why digital danger doesn't give you the pucker factor. So if you get too close to the edge of a cliff, a car gets too close to you, you see the creepy dude coming down the street, you have a physiological response. That never occurs in the digital world, no matter how horrible the thing is you might have seen. So as you're thinking about how do you teach students, tie back whatever this new thing is to those foundational human things, relationships and feelings and being scared or whatever that, experience we have as humans, because the tech is always going to be filling some role that's old school. I like to think of Tinder, right? Tinder revolutionized how we date. And now if you walk up to a stranger in the bar and go, hey, what's up? How you doing? You might be going to jail because you weren't pre-approved. So as the new tech comes, right, nanotech and some of this future tech, we love to use technology to create more convenience, but convenience always comes at a cost. So we have to make sure that we're educating our students that, hey, before you invent that next great thing that could end the world, have you thought about the societal impact? Have you thought about how this could actually be a negative? For example, if I could go back in time and take Mr. Zuckerberg out of his room and sit him down and say, hey, I like the idea, but if you don't build this the right way, you're going to break the world. And I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter lately, but we are not doing good as people, right? So that's my take on it, is because we can't predict the future. We don't know what comes next. But what we do know is human beings, for the most part, haven't changed in a very, very long time.
Yeah, so don't beat yourself up, right? So I realize you're a teacher and you're leading and you're helping lead the future. But, there were a bunch of people that showed up on the shores of this country, got into covered wagons eventually, and then said, hey, I'm going to build a house somewhere over that way, right? And they didn't really know what they were getting into. They didn't necessarily even have the right tools. They may not even have the right preparations, but they had some basic skills that allowed them to function. You can always challenge the unknown as long as you have the basic skills to survive and operate. And the same thing is true in digital world, right? So what we haven't done is we haven't had the equivalent of the Boy Scouts, right? Which taught you how to make a fire, how to pitch a tent, how not to kill yourself when carving wood, all these silly things. But thankfully, the Girl Scouts have started, right? So yay, girls leading the way again, right? But we need to equip people with basic skills, and then we need to give them the right moral compass so that when they're using those skills, they don't become the next Zuckerberg or the next Jack Dorsey, who have polarized the entire world and turned us against each other for a profit and with our help, right? And so if we had geared these people with morals and values, there's a really good chance they might not have done the evil that they have done. And I'm pretty sure that when they die, they get to pay for all of that. But the fact is that in the meantime, we need to build better humans, people who understand, hey, there is this thing and it's a great tool and it does all these wonderful things, but it can also be misapplied. And so as a teacher, usually a risk-averse community. You don't want to show them the evil side of things because you don't want to give people bad ideas. The fact is that I took people who had never done cyber before, gave them access to the worst cyber weapons that were out there. Did they turn into the next Dr. Evil? Absolutely not. They found ways to defeat that evil technology. So if you equip them with the basics and you give them a good compass, they're going to be able to overcome whatever obstacle that they have. Every one of us is here because our ancestors were good hackers. If you think about that.
All right, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer I'll throw a thought into it. A couple of things. First and foremost, thank you for being a teacher. Seriously, thank you.
Can everybody, thank you, round of applause.
Yeah.
That's a hard job. I can't even put up with my 3 kids all day for like a whole day, let alone 30.
Let's
so.
not even go there on that one. Thank you. Secondly, you have probably at that age some of the most creative minds. And to me, it's fostering that. It's helping them understand what they have in front of them, the potential of that device and the potential of the technology, but it's also helping them frame questions. How can they ask a question that maybe leads to a different direction they normally had? It's that, and a lot of us in this industry are trying to teach people to question, to trust less, question more, to validate before you trust. Those are really 2 of the big areas for that one. If you look at the kids, I mean, you have some amazing creative. I mean, I still look at it and go, okay, why can't we fix this? Why can't we fix this? Why can't we fix it? And the answer is we can fix it. We just tend to focus elsewhere. So I think part of it is like, okay, back to the earlier conversation, help them find their passion early on. It's I look at everybody here. I don't know what the average age here is, but I mean, we all know we're going to change careers a couple of times. Unless we rob the bank or win the lottery or fix the lottery to win the lottery, we're all going to have to work for the next 40 or 50 years. So it's helping somebody go, hey, where can you make a difference? Not, you don't get pigeonholed. It's where can you make that difference? Where can you foster that creativity, but do it in such a way that they can go, okay, I can take this next step. I can take this next step. And it's that question more. I'm loving the fact that, yes, we're doing a lot of the talking, but I'm loving the fact there's a ton of questions. That has to continue. It is that question and everything. Gravity works. Why? Don't just tell me gravity works. And, we can have that conversation one day. But gravity works. Why? Why is the sky blue? There's an amazing guy out there. He runs XKCD. For those of you that know it, XKCD is this, exactly. For those of you that don't know it and you have kids, or hell, we'll send 30 books to your damn students for crying out loud. I mean, I'm not kidding. He's done some amazing books. They're called What If? And he's like, well, what happens if the world stops moving? What would happen?
My kids love those YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So much.
Well, the YouTube videos, the books, it's foster that. It's stop accepting the reality that we see, because exactly to Ryan's point, the physical reality and the digital ones can be very, very different. And it is up to the next generation to how to morph it effectively. I don't know if that helps answer the question or not.
We've got a question over here.
I have a question about the more public sector focused. Currently, if you don't know if you guys heard about it, the chief software officer of the Air Force resigned. And he said it's because he believes the U.S. Army, the U.S. military, is falling behind in AI technology. How do you guys think that might reflect onto cybersecurity? And how would us as students help our government without exactly going into the public sector?
Get a job at Raytheon.
Yeah, so the fact is that stilted hierarchical organizations have a really hard time being innovative. And when they find innovators in their midst, the first thing they want to do is expel them and get them out. And so I think he was probably sitting at the top of that heap and going, okay, I got most of my hands tied behind my back, and we are not terribly innovative in this technology. And what is being innovative is locked up in commercial entities, et cetera. I'm basically the new king of the Titanic, right? I'm in the new digital Titanic, and I want to get out. So it's unfortunate because we don't need people giving up, right? So none of us is here because our ancestors gave up. So the fact is that it is a big challenge. Government has to find a way to better work with people outside of government. And hopefully those people who are outside of the government don't look at the government and say, golly, this is the great way to overbill for what I'm doing for a living. And, I just said the worst thing ever. And quite literally, we have a better chance of having a new coming of a new religious figure or Pluto becoming a planet again than we do to have people who say, I'm part of this society and community, and what I do is worth something, but I don't need to harpoon every single person that says yes. So ultimately, we're going to need to find a better culture and a better way to work with the federal government, and it's unlikely they'll be able to pull it off on their own.
Do you want to chime in?
Yeah. So first off, when he said what he said, my first gut reaction was this is maybe psyops. So also keep in mind, not everything you read on the internet is true. And sometimes the government will say that it can't do things when it's actually better at doing those things than somebody else. But in this case, he went public with something that, and frankly, in my opinion, it was really unprofessional of him to do it the way he did it. Any citizen in this country that can pass a background check can help work for the government without being in the government. So you don't have to be in the military to work with the military. There are a lot of private defense companies. There's a lot of different organizations that you can get involved in, nonprofits.
So I have a follow-up for that. So speaking of those security clearances, the top secret and the normal secret would be when we hear if you commit a cybercrime, no matter your age, you are arrested, you're paper arrested, you will never pass a DoD background check. In China and Russia,
False.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that.
from my experience and what I've seen in the industry, like my good friend Kane Gamble, he was arrested when he was 15 years old.
Yeah. So
And he can't get a job in cybersecurity despite being one of the most talented people I know in the world. He just can't do it. It's impossible for him to swing.
I'm gonna. I'll call BS, and I'm not being an ass about it, but I will call BS on that one.
Alrighty.
I'm the living proof of that for a variety of reasons.
So,
we'll go into off camera.
I was like, so all these guys up here, I'm just saying,
Yeah, I was
are
gonna, you don't
currently
even have to be a
working-
very
So-
nice guy.
working in cybersecurity.
So, well, then that's a good question. So now that can follow through because in Russia and China, they do the opposite of what I see in America, where they don't really paper arrest. I see them more training.
All right.
their
So
hackers.
hang on. Oy vey. Okay. Exactly to what he was saying. Don't trust everything you read on the internet. First and foremost, we've recruited some amazing people from some amazing conferences like DEF CON, Black Hat, GERCON, all of those other conferences. We use those as recruitment profiles. We have hacked the Pentagon. You hack the Pentagon, have at it, enjoy yourself. We have hack the Army. Hack the Army is a thing. And you are openly allowed, you register, you are openly allowed to go cause chaos and mayhem, and you can help. And the other side of it is as well, DHS over the last several years, probably because they get fed up with a number of us just beating up on them from both inside and outside, also brings a lot of us in to help out. Now, when it comes to, yes, so China's rule is if you are on the inside but you're not working for them and you attack on the outside, fair game. You attack on the inside, different set of rules and conversations.
Mike?
Russia's is because of an economic situation. You had the Soviet Union that was well structured to look after some of its people. That then fell apart, and some of those people got left by the wayside. Those people had to find alternate ways of income, and they've done a really nice job of it. And again, similar kind of rules. Keep it outside of our country. Enjoy yourself.
We actually have another question from the overflow that kind of feeds into this a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
And it's how do people get through the gatekeepers and pass the ridiculous entrance requirement? I'm going to try to English, you guys. I'm so sorry. Entrance requirements to get a job, i.e., the classic CISSP for entry.
Yeah, it kind of
For
feeds
entry
in-
level.
Yeah, it kind of feeds into some of it. We'll finish that one first because that's a huge one. So you don't need the classic education to get into this industry. You also don't need a clean sheet. What you need is to care, and back to some of the previous conversations, that moral compass at least needs to be pointing in preferably the general right direction. You will run up against somebody like us here who will have those conversations with you. If we deem it right and we can use and work with you and we trust you, that's a different conversation.
Well, the reason I felt the two questions kind of went in together was just because what you're talking about is a type of gatekeeping, right? It's something that keeps people out from moving forward in the industry. And then a lot of people run into that with trying to get their foot in the door or toe in the door or whatever, for the breaking into cyber roles and all these things.
Yeah, I mean, the government one's an interesting one. I mean, they, and here's where it gets even more intriguing, is because if you are inside and part of the system, you have a few more restrictions placed upon you than if you were consulting to the system. Mm-hmm. So for those of us who keep one foot on both sides of the fence, we can consult, which means we're maybe not necessarily beholden to those same criteria that stop somebody from doing certain things. So there are uses on both sides. So no, if you've got a friend telling you he's tried his hardest to get in and he can't because he got arrested at 15, I'm gonna throw me a red bullshit flag on that one.
So you want in cybersecurity, start building relationships. This is how you get through the gatekeeper. You meet the gatekeeper and then they give you a key.
And you take them out for coffee and you make friends.
Yep.
And you go walk your dogs together and you do those things.
It's a relationship game. It's so about relationship. Now, the other problem is when the man who invented Kubernetes cannot get a job in Kubernetes because he doesn't have the 15 years of experience that the description says, even though it's 5 years old? Yeah. Okay. So there's a disconnect. HR writes job descriptions. HR goes to Google and types in 1 or 2 keywords that they got from the hiring manager who did not have time or the communication skills to properly articulate what they were looking for. And now you wind up with this job posting that says you must have a CISSP and 97 years of experience in network technology.
Wait. I have a question. Do HR people have conferences?
They do.
Do you think maybe they have cybersecurity people at HR conferences?
Only
I
in
think,
limited fashions.
Yeah, there might be this one guy that goes and yells at them.
Do you think that might be a good way to get off of InfoSec Island is to go talk to HR people at conferences?
Are you talking about a strike team, or are we just going to take the conference over?
Hang on, feel me out. Wait a minute.
Get some door
Wait.
kickers.
Who does the majority of the entry-level hiring for companies? Or is that HR people?
That's going to be the HR people.
Is that HR people? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? And could that be a mutually beneficial situation for the HR people as well as for you and your cybersecurity role, and also make you stand out from everyone else at an HR conference because there's not many cybersecurity people there?
Absolutely. So I also we should talk offline about this. I'm part of SHRM. Yeah. So Society for Human Resources. I also go to the Rotary Club. I'm serious.
You're so
I give
lame.
talks at the Rotary Club. Why? Because those are, in a lot of cases, former business leaders who still have very effective relationships back in. So when I can go in and present to them on how to keep the family photos safe from ransomware, because that's what they care about is the grandkid photos. And then they say, oh, well, da-da-da, and I used to work at so-and-so, and I know such and such. I should introduce you guys. So seriously, networking is just huge.
I'm sorry, just one second. I just want to finish off with that, and that is, a lot of things in cybersecurity and government-related practice are all about saying the wall is this tall. There's probably not even a wall there, right? If you accept, oh man, there's this wall, I can't climb that, and you walk away, you've made their job easier because then they don't have to talk to you and deal with you. So that is a very cryptic metaphor, but the fact is that in this world, I was giving speeches on what country's capability in cyber warfare was. And all of a sudden, all these obvious government people started showing up, right? And so a young man comes up and says, yeah, I'm with the FBI. And how do you know all of this? And I said, FBI, eh? I don't have anything to say. And he goes, well, why do you want to talk to me? And I said, because guys like you put guys like me in jail. And he goes, what if I could make it so that you don't go to jail? And I said, we could be the best friends you ever wanted to be.
Yeah, those immunity agreements are great, aren't they?
There's a piggyback question from the overflow on our connections ones too. I want to get to.
Let me add one extra thing, and Ryan, you taught me this one. Volunteer. I go hang out with old people that have actually either more gray hair than I do or less actual hair than I do, and I go hang out with them and I talk with them. I don't lecture to them. I talk with them. We talk about Facebook. We talk about the flip phone that they have. We talk about the kids and grandkids giving them stuff. We talk about Facebook, and we have conversations about how they can be scammed. You, every single one of you here, I don't care if you're just starting in the industry. I don't care if you've got more experience. Go talk to other people.
So I actually currently work at FedEx as an office assistant, and I actually do kind of help with the onboarding process. And one thing I have noticed is that, with our IT guys and everything, I feel like they don't really get vetted well enough, and the hiring managers don't know what questions to ask. So I feel like that's maybe somewhere that, down the line and the HR conferences or whatever that we could definitely improve upon. Just a side note.
I add to that note, don't even wait down the line. Sit down with Rachel, sit down with us, get a list of questions, and then go to the hiring manager tomorrow and say, hey, look, I just came from this kick-ass conference. We just hung out with some amazing people. By the way, it's over at PIMA. You should probably check it out. And these are some questions they thought you would absolutely love to have some help with as you are actually bringing people on board and as you're looking at them. By the way, hey, here's some cool-ass resources. Hey, by the way, PIMA is one of those resources you can talk with about people that are coming in the industry. You can do that tomorrow. Don't wait.
Oh, the piggyback. It's still on subject from the overflow. If networking is required to get into cybersecurity, how do we connect to others in the industry? Ooh, can I take this one?
Yes.
You should take that one.
So my actual title is actually, client relationship specialist with SecureNation, and that sounds really finagled. So I use the human API, because what APIs do? They connect things into each other so they communicate better, right? So everything flows nicer and it's seamless. I connect the people behind the scenes to things because when I started getting into the industry, I had 7 connections on LinkedIn. I did not use my Facebook for anything else other than like, hey, grandma, look at my kids. And I did not do Twitter. It sounded really scary and toxic, right? I also didn't have a Twitch or a YouTube. I started on LinkedIn, and in 3 to 4 months of plugging away at reading posts like from people like Chris and from people like Brett and Ryan and Evan and all the others and Alyssa, I went through and I found the people that seemed like their thought process was the same as mine. There would be thought-provoking posts that were put up, and the conversations down in the comments, I started to look through those, and I would click on those profiles and I would see where they came from, how often they were active on whatever social media platform I was on. And then I would get an understanding for how much they liked to engage with others on that platform. And then I would send them a connection request. And it would be based on, saw your comment in this section, loved your thought, why don't we have a chat sometime? And it wouldn't be like, I don't need you to commit to we're not getting married or anything, but how about just some texting back and forth at first? And then that would lead to, virtual coffee, right? Let's just chill at our desk, right? We're in a virtual environment. I can't take anybody out for coffee. I'm stuck in my house on lockdown. So
it's like the line in You Got Mail, right?
Yeah.
It comes up with, shouldn't everything start by being personal?
Yeah. I met Will on LinkedIn. I sent him a cold message that was like, hey, what's up? You look cool. And he was like, do I? No.
I got
boy,
my
were you
current
disappointed.
job because of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You,
That's where
You're
you
the
go.
one guy that got a job on LinkedIn?
Seriously, I met Evan, my CEO, on LinkedIn. I met Chris on LinkedIn. I met Rachel. I met John. It's amazing how powerful that social network is. Also, tap into your friends and family circle. You are only 6 people away from every other single person on the planet.
It's very true. And have those conversations. And don't go into every conversation wanting something out of it, because that's gonna lock you down from allowing that conversation to develop organically, right? Whenever you walk up to somebody in a grocery store, right? That's why we all complain about marketers shit on LinkedIn. You don't walk up to somebody and go, my name is this, and this is my dog's name, and here's my kids, and da 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 da, and I want to sell you 900 things. Can you help me get a job? Right? You don't do that. When you walk past somebody, you know, at the local Walmart or whatever, wherever you go to buy your groceries, you say hi and you recognize that there's something instantly relatable to you and that other person. For me, it's usually my kids are freaking out. They're probably sticky and covered in whatever. And I'm trying to keep their hands in the cart. Please just stop touching stuff. And there's somebody else on the other line doing the same thing. And we kind of give that visual like, hey, I see you, right? Like, I see you struggling. It's cool, whatever. And then, but you keep seeing them because you both happen to shop at the same times, at the same days. You know what I mean? And you develop that relationship that way. It exists that way in the digital world too, because we're still humans controlling ourselves. You know, you can't be approached by somebody that's gonna, you know, like in a bar right now, hey, how you doing? It'd be like, oh, get out of here. Don't touch me.
Let me add on to that, and it's
Yeah.
a critical part of that. Has anybody got a business card on them? Can somebody just grab a business card? Just hold it up. A business card. I've already got your IDs. I just want a business card.
Wait, Will's got one. Will's got one.
All right, just stay there. So let me show you how most people work. Oh, well, use his. Yeah, I got him. He's closer. Let me show you how most people use LinkedIn. Dum dee 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 dum. Okay, that's how most people use LinkedIn. It's spray and pray, or it's drive by. Here's what I would love, and this is exactly to Rachel's point. I'm like, kind of cool. Hey, love the shirt. It's absolutely fantastic. Hey, good night, brilliant. Hey, would you mind if we just catch up and have a cup of coffee? And that's what you get. That's the interaction. That's the difference. Send a bloody message. Don't spray and pray invites.
And you don't have to think too. If you overthink it, you're gonna screw it up. Like that's digital
Last
social
piece
anxiety.
Before we get to our question here, the gentleman in the pink hat had been waiting for a while here. If you have something to offer that's helpful, back to volunteer, you will have 99% more success in establishing a meaningful relationship if you're giving versus taking. Hi, I'm a student. I have no experience, but I would love to do something. Is there anything you have that I could maybe help? So I'll point all you guys to K-12 schools. If you're not doing it already, and I don't care if it's day 1 or day 100, go get involved with your K-12. You'll get real experience. You'll be able to help, and you're gonna network because everybody's got a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister. So
Yeah, but also volunteer at a cyber warfare range, right?
Yes.
Like here we have PIMA. PIMA has industry people coming in. They have all kinds of people coming into the ranges themselves, and they're going to sit next to you and they're going to talk to you and want to know what you're doing. And you'll meet your peers, other people that are nerds like you, interested in cybersecurity. Get to know them, be friends with them, be personable. All of that will help you. If you think about it, if you got to know every single one of the people that came to the cyber warfare ranges, they're either in the industry or will be soon, which means you can go with them.
That's a huge one. Volunteer at the security conferences, like the B-sides, ISACs, ISSAs, anything along those lines. Come and hang out.
Yeah, I hate it whenever people tell me I would love to go to conferences, but I can't ever afford the tickets. I'm like, that's great because all the volunteers get in free and they usually have a couple meals paid for.
you've been waiting patiently.
My name is James Young, and then this is my first semester inside cybersecurity, like in CIS. And I have seen many great questions and many great information. But my question is, what are the biggest cybersecurity threat right now?
Humans who don't actively participate in their own safety. And that comes in the form of phishing, that comes in the form of poorly configured networks, that comes in the form of not updating your phone for the 19,000th time that you've gotten that alert. That comes in the form of trying to figure out what your spirit animal is and then giving away all your password reset questions, right? This is my opinion, that the number one truest biggest threat is that we do not have enough people actively participating. I can make a door lock, but if you never turn the key, I can't lock your door.
Hey, Ryan, does that mean people in cybersecurity never answer those questions and they always update their passwords and they always update and refresh and
Doesn't everybody?
patch?
So I've got 11 Dell updates waiting for me at some point when I get to stable internet.
And there's the secret to the sauce.
So it turns out I'm still a human. Turns out I too also want to have fun. Turns out I hate passwords as much as you do, right? But I make a commitment to try as best as I can. My car in my driveway 2 weeks ago was robbed because I fucked up. I trusted that when I pushed the button, the door locked, and I was on my way to the airport, and I was in a hurry, and I was distracted. By the way, this is the perfect recipe for cyber disaster: in a hurry, distracted, trying to do something else. And when I got home, my car was ransacked. Now, I'm a security professional. People are like, seriously, bro, you forgot to lock the door?
Yes.
Yup, because I'm a human first. So I think that's the biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge is a over-reliance on technology being able to solve this, and the purchasing of the latest state-of-the-art AI-powered fucking
Quantum.
XDID, ABCDEFGR. And of course it has to have some blockchain on it, right? And if it's not smart IoT enabled, well, then I don't know what we're doing. Because business leaders, being humans and wanting to make business and money, say, I have a cyber problem. And then they come to one of us and we go, I can solve your problem. You see, I got this blinky light and mine blinks purple. And purple, as we all know, is far more secure than blue.
No,
So you're
orange
gonna
is
buy-
the best. We're doing orange.
No, orange means there's something wrong.
No,
Don't you know
orange-
your light colors?
What's the matter with you?
That's not what
Orange?
happens.
No.
As long as it all shows up in a single pane of glass.
It must. If I don't have information overload, I am so not doing cyber right.
So if you guys don't realize it, we're having the argument that all of the vendors have right there. That was it right there.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah,
me
an
and
orange-
me and Ryan arguing over whose blinky light was better, and then somebody else coming along and going, I'll solve this argument and sell you another thing that'll put everything in the same pane of glass.
So that's what I think. I think everything else is a direct result of those two.
All right. I'm actually going to, no, I will not disagree, but I'm going to add on to it. And it's something we've talked about on the shit show. Accountability.
Ooh, nobody likes that word.
Yeah, I know.
Amen.
But exactly to this blinky light shit, I come in and I'm like, I'm not going to move because he'll charge me around and I'm going to get, I come in, I'm like, I can solve your problem. And I fail, which, let's face it, we all have. If we hadn't, we probably wouldn't be having many of these conversations. And then it fails, you have no recourse. None whatsoever. As an individual, I don't care about the company side. I care about you, the human, to some degree. But for me, it's the accountability. When somebody who for several years knew that their systems in the organization that they ran, the CEO, didn't do anything, and we lost the entire East Coast's worth of certain fuel supplies, and then all the accountability was simply they went before Congress and went, oh, those bad people, they were terrible. We taught, we're good at teaching people how to do crocodile tears. Yeah, no, that is not accountability. And I think, to me, I want to taser people and backhoe them. You know that.
I know.
So,
I just want to
but-
hug them into compliance.
We have a question from the. Okay, can we get a T-shirt out of that?
Oh, and by the way, thank you for our sweatshirt.
Front and back.
Wearing. I was freezing to
Yeah.
death.
I have.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I
It'll
was
smell
asking
good
if
when
that
I'm
was yours, and I thought that you confirmed that that was yours.
No, I confirmed that I was literally getting hypothermic and I needed a sweatshirt and I didn't
Nice.
care where it came from.
Nice. I definitely stole somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, so
Uh,
sorry.
And thank you for your donation.
Gave it away.
I'll
So
give it back when I'm done.
how do we go about teaching individuals to care about their own digital safety when they don't know anything about it?
All right, so that's a fair question. And again, we tend to blame individuals and very often blame victims for the crimes that are going on. And so have a little compassion, but the fact is that not every consumer is passionate about making sure they're on top of things. So we all know we're kind of sliding. That's the nature of human beings. We like to not think about stuff. And so going back to accountability and looping accountability back into this process, when an organization for the 5th time has lost all of your information, maybe stop doing business with that organization. Maybe stop using that technology. Maybe stop using that service, etc. If you vote with your feet, the people that do this get the message. And the assumption is, well, I'm only one person, I won't make a difference. And that is the very thing that makes everyone not do something. So if you do something and they say, hey, what's your Facebook? And I go, I'm not on Facebook. That thing is literally Satan's tool, right? I'm not any part of that. I have no account. Then they go, oh, somebody else did leave, right? And all of a sudden, more than one person, and so forth and so on. So people can learn basic skill sets. There are tons of resources online. I mean, for example, Goodwill has a lot of great cyber training, believe it or not. And so there are lots of ways that you can learn about this stuff. And then you have free resources right here at PIMA College. Wander on in. I can't tell you how many times people have just sort of wandered in and said, I think there's something wrong with my phone. Can you help me? And so those are the kinds of things that people could be doing. And then, of course, we would hope that they would then share that information with other people in their neighborhood and go, you know, I had this problem with my phone, and you know what? All I had to do was reset it. And that's the coolest thing in the world.
Hey, Brett, I just got to tell you, if I have a problem with my phone, I'm not letting you have access to my phone.
Starting with you can't prove anything.
Okay, well, hi. So my question would be like around one of the points that Ryan made, mental health. So I know many people, including myself, suffer from imposter syndrome. And yeah, and we, as a human, we like to compare ourselves to each other, you know, and like there's always like a pressure on us to do better all the time. I want to ask all of you that, have you all that as a security professional that made it to this level, how have you dealt with it?
Oh gosh.
How about
I don't know why I'm in most of the rooms I'm in. I don't know how I got in that room. I don't know what it is that I've said or done that makes people go, yeah, that guy, we should call him expert. I'm like, is somebody behind me? Right? So part of it is imposter syndrome, right? And my own spouse yelled at me about this the other day. Somebody threw some things out. There was an article that got wrote, you know, nice things were said. And I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, right? And she looked at me and she's like, would you stop this shit already? She goes, dude, you're good at what you do. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's growing. Everybody's improving, but you're good at what you do. If you weren't, they would not continue to have you come and give talks. You would not continue to do the work you're doing if you weren't good at this work you're doing. So I have to have those internal conversations with myself. And part of it is because the work we do, there's no tangibility to it. So it can be hard. Like that's why I blacksmith. I know if I did a good job or not. I can see it. I can tell. Is it straight? Did it come out the way I want? When I'm on a, third year of an engagement of trying to sway the cyber culture of a company, am I doing good? I don't know, because we just got hit with phishing again. And I swear to God, Karen, I told you 1,000 times, Karen, don't click the link. But she did it anyways. So am I a good expert? So I don't know. It's the imposter syndrome's tough. Part of it is the mental health. But the other thing is who cares, right? I loved when I walked into PIMA, into the range. Okay, on the door it says check your ego. Okay,
Your ego at the door.
Check your ego at the door. And I thought that was so perfect, because one of the problems that creates imposter syndrome is the other syndrome, dickhead syndrome. And our industry is rife with it.
No.
Overinflated. Do you know that I hacked it? I had somebody get on me the other day, like, oh, you don't know how to hack that? I said, no, why would I bother? And they're like, huh? No, you're not a cyber expert. I'm like, I don't need to hack that, dude. I can hack your mom.
You know what's really, really bad? What I find really funny about that is whenever one researcher, one hacker will walk up to another researcher or hacker and tell them, you didn't know how to do that. I want to see a room of medical professionals. One's a brain surgeon. One's like,
Thank you.
I obviously don't know the medical. Thank you. Ortho surgeon. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's a
You know what's
help
bad?
right
I've
there.
actually had one of those. I broke my leg. There's some pins in there. But anyway, that's like an ortho surgeon walking up to a brain surgeon and going, what do you mean you don't know how to put screws down in Rachel Arnold's tibia because she's stupid and klutzy and broke her leg? Right? That's dumb. That's dumb. That's not your specialty. That's not what it is. Cybersecurity is like the medical field, right? think of it's always that's the question that I'm like, oh, come on, how do we break into what direction should I go in cybersecurity? I don't know. If you were somebody that wanted to help people, not be sick, how do you know what direction to go? You want to be a nurse, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a surgeon, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a lab tech. I don't know how to start you from there. That is that's an all-encompassing huge question. And there's so many different roles in cybersecurity. I'm not technical. I know a little bit about a lot, okay? Like a lot. What I know is how to get you to ask the right question so I can find you the right answer.
Just real quick, one thing. Measure yourself against yourself. Don't measure yourself against somebody else.
Or do it by height, as Chevy Chase says in Caddyshack. But you are the deliberate culmination of thousands of years of your ancestors sacrificing, fighting to be here. You're here because of a concentrated effort for you to be here. So remember that the next time somebody slights you, because literally thousands of years of sacrifice was given so that you could be here today.
One of the things that I have to throw this in here because it's one of my favorite expressions from Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, "Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent."
Amen.
So don't give that consent, right? Just like the concept of that makes me angry. Anger is a decision you make, right? And these gentlemen here are experts at social engineering. So they know that when you do that, you're basically handing the remote control over to somebody else. Do those other folks deserve that remote control? So don't give it to them.
Absolutely not. We have a question right here too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hold on, I'm actually going to add some extra stuff onto this one because the mental health thing and that imposter syndrome is huge. I'm every single day. It scares the hell out of me. When I'm up here doing this, I love it. I have a ton of fun hanging out and talking and doing stuff, but I have to get away and do my time. I'm actually looking forward. It's a 13-hour drive, give or take a bit, back to my neck of the woods. I'm looking forward to it. That will be my de-stress time from here. And that's my time to just be with me, with my buddy, and do my thing. You have to find that safe space. But the other thing I think for the other part of it is as well is there's a level of like validation to it as well. It's like, okay, I'm very fortunate. I mean, we all are. We all have a fairly decent following across various different platforms. Rather than letting it scare you all the time, it comes with a responsibility. How can I help others? How can I, whether it's a diversity question, whether it's a question of elderly, young kids, anything, it doesn't matter. My job, because I'm fortunate for whatever the hell reason I've got that voice, is how do I use that for the best possible purposes to affect the changes as a kid I thought were possible on this planet. That's how I look at it.
And we have a question.
We have to be quick.
Yeah, we have to be quick. This is the last one.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just had a question about that and going back to that. So I've kind of already experienced it. I just barely started working in IT. I'm still going to school. I have a really bad attitude problem. And if you give me attitude, I'm going to give you attitude back. And I'm kind of learning how to handle that. What is your best advice on handling people who will constantly talk down to you? Because sometimes it's not the best to match that. Sometimes it's better to do something else. I just don't know how to respond.
If you think about the nature of someone talking down to you, they are trying to assert that for a reason, because it's an inordinate amount of energy to pour into a specific purpose, right? They're trying to elevate themselves above you. You might think about the fact that only the people that probably don't need it and don't deserve it are those kind of people. So quite literally, I mean, people say really horrible things about me, and I'm a perfectly nice guy. I'm sure everyone would agree. But
I concur.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
You heard it. And and this is on tape, by the way. So thank you very much for that. But the fact is that
101.
there will always be people who try to measure themselves against you. And worse than that, they want to get you to measure yourself against their elevated sense of themselves. So you can 100% turn it off. All of those things are within your control. And I have had people look at me and say really, really awful things. And I have to prevent myself from laughing because I'm sitting there going, how absurd that you're taking your time to try to make me feel bad. And that's 100% not going to happen. Right? So that's your superpower.
I got do you want to hit it, or do you want me to hit it? Yeah.
Go.
I'll hit it. I'm part English and I'm part Scottish, and I have a nasty temper, like a really nasty temper. But
No.
oh yeah, a little bit.
You should argue with them.
But I've gotten to the point where you give me attitude, have at it. I can't change what you do. I'm just not going to give you the time of day. Okay, so it's the male thing. It's like, well, I'm going to just stare you down. And at that point, I'm like, I'm going to look at you and go, and just wander off. Or in the car, that thing is like, somebody happens like that, I'm like, mwah, and just keep driving. Fuck, I mean, I have not seen somebody get all pissy and then suddenly just like does not compute. And then that's it, they're done. Then they are going to be spinning on that for the rest of the day. Some big ass motherfucking guy just blew them a kiss. I mean, and so you almost change it around. For me, though, I've gotten to the point now where, and I actively won't go to certain conferences because I just don't want to deal with certain people. I value my time. I'm here, at least this time around, I'm here for a finite amount of time. There's a certain amount of things I kind of want to get sorted out. And I'm not going to waste the time. There's 5.5 other billion people that have computers that I can probably help if I'm just not, and that's my way of dealing with it. And it's not perfect because believe me, I come from the mentality and the world of, I will stop you until you won't get back up again.
So
one to the
Care
head.
Bear here takes a slightly kinder approach. So if I have to, if I have the option to not deal, just like I had responded about what to do if you're a female in the situation, right? Zero tolerance. Screw you. You don't speak to me that way. I'm a human being. You will treat me with respect. Hard stop. Because experience has nothing to do with that. This is a respect thing. The second thing, though, is if I do have to deal with it because I'm in a particular situation, maybe it's a supervisor, maybe it's the father-in-law, or whatever the case may be, right? That they're going to talk down. Usually that's coming from, like Brett had said, comes from a place. So I'll say to them, I'm getting the sense that you're maybe having a bit of a stressful day today. Is there something I can do to help make your day better? I don't acknowledge their question. I don't engage their question. I immediately just turn it right to the side and say, I feel like maybe you're a little stressed. Is there something I can do to help? And it just completely changes their attitude towards you because it puts them out of their comfort zone. So
okay,
with that, I think we are at time.
Yeah, I'm getting all sorts of signals from the back.
Yeah.
So
They're like, shut.
Is that what those gestures
First
are?
of all,
The feds are on the way. Get the hell out of here. Run.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to all of you. I mean, I get a little mother hen about this, right? This is an incredible bunch of folks. The students here at PIMA are incredible. They care, they have passion, and you're coming here to visit and be part of that is awesome. And I thank you all for what you do. And Rachel,
What?
oh my word,
Did I
thank
do
you for
stuff?
what
I
you
didn't
do.
do stuff. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So a lot of times whenever you come to discussions like this, the production value is a lot higher. But today I want to thank PCC TV and their crew because, wow, look at me, Mom. I'm a professional. Wow, here we are. It only took, don't worry, next week it'll be really crappy and you'll be hanging out in my living room again with like my dogs hanging out on the couch and stuff.
But we should probably go through real quick. Final words.
Definitely, yeah.
Do something.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, so you're here because you have a passion for cybersecurity. You're amongst a bunch of amazing and very unique individuals here. All of us share a common set of values. And instead of death by PowerPointing you or pontificating about some sponsor or vendor, we're here to talk to you, the future of cybersecurity. So in that whole imposter syndrome, how do 3 conference keynote level speakers come and talk to us at my class at PIMA? And the answer is really simple, because we care about you, because you are following us, and we want you to be as good as we were or better if we could do that. So this is the group of people you want to network with in cybersecurity. And there are not a lot of people that think like we do, but that's okay. You're going to help us change that.
So 2 points. 2 points. First and foremost, I gave out a number of patches. I challenge everybody to understand the history of those patches. Is that you? You've broken the cardinal rule. Apparently not. So first and foremost, I gave out a number of patches. There are a number of people who made questions that I did not have an extra patch for. Please see me. I will give you a business card. Send me your address. I already have it, let's be honest. But send me your address, and I will send you a patch and some extra stickers, okay? That's first one. Second one, we've stood up here and we're up here. Here's what I would love to see. I'd love to see my crotchety old self in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time hanging out in the back, watching you up here. That's what I want.
You want to know how to network?
Yes.
Here are your people to start networking with right here. These are all your new best friends. Every last one of them, because they're all going to find themselves in different roles and different places and different areas of the world and the industry. And they'll all have something unique to contribute. And the people sitting next to you are going to be your most valuable allies and the people that you can call on first and go, hey, you remember that time we were really PCs and we did all that stuff with like the hack and stuff? I got a problem and I don't know how to solve it. Can you help me? That's where it starts. You can start just right now. Like there's nothing holding you back. You can just say, hey, and like introduce, like if you don't know the people sitting next to you today, tell them what your name is before we leave and be like, hey, you know, want to hang out in Discord or whatever. Here's my LinkedIn, Facebook, if you still got that thing. Whatever, just do it. Do it now. You know,
Seriously, hit us up on LinkedIn, Twitter, like Chris, myself, all of us right now. Like, get your phones out, start making those connections.
And if you are having a sense of any kind of imposter syndrome, I want you to realize that all these people came here today of their own volition. They volunteered to show up because they believe in you that much, because they know you've got what it takes and that you're worth it. That's why anybody shows up to our coffee table talk, which by the way was not if you guys go back to episode 1, okay, please don't. But if you do, all right, it's me figuring out how to use OBS and to screen capture my go-to meeting because I had no idea that there were streaming platforms, right? But I learned from every episode, it sucked a little less. That's all you have to do is just suck a little less every day. That's it. That's all it is. And you can see the progression. And look, now I'm here and like somehow socially engineered all these guys to run some cameras and click some buttons. It's amazing.
We should put that in stone. Suck a little less, Rachel Arnold.
I mean, I have it in my wall, like where everybody else has got the live, laugh, love crap. It's suck a little less, Rachel. That's it.
That's awesome.
That's it. So thank you. Thank you. You guys are the reasons why we're here. 100%. Don't forget that.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello. So thank you, everyone. Feel free to come up and